It's very important that we all do everything we can to calm tensions. The Ukrainians have said to me in the last couple of days that they will not rise to provocations, and of course I will strongly advise them to continue with that approach. I'm very concerned by reports this morning of escalating tension. We will also continue to urge the Russians to speak directly to the Ukrainians through ministers, through military channels. They've so far not wanted to do that. I urged Foreign Minister Lavrov yesterday to do that. And in the absence of that, I think we have to explore how they can speak to each other under the auspices of the United Nations or of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. So I want to discuss all of those issues with them. At the same time, we have to recognize the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Ukraine has been violated, and this cannot be the way to conduct international affairs. And so in addition to calling yesterday's emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, the United Kingdom will join other G8 countries this week in suspending our cooperation under the G8, which Russia chairs this year, including the preparation meetings this week for the preparation of the G8 summit. And then we will keep our approach to further G8 meetings under review. And finally, I will discuss with the Ukrainian leadership the need for them to represent their whole country, to include as much as possible in their leadership representatives of the east and south of the country, to ensure that forthcoming elections are fair to all concerned, and to prepare for the tough economic decisions that they will have to make in order to secure international financial support. So we will, I hope, to cover all of these things in the visit to Kiev today and tomorrow.
So at the moment, your strongest sanction, as it were, on Russia at the moment would be a possible boycott of the G8 summit.
Well, we're saying that we will suspend this week's meetings on the G8. I think the decisions about the future will depend on what happens over the coming days. And, of course, we're also raising this in every other international forum, in the United Nations Security Council, in NATO, in the European Union. So I think Russia will see increasingly over the coming days the very strong concerns around the world by many, many nations. And I hope that direct communication between the two countries will be able to take place.
Do you think there's any real muscle behind that concern? I mean, there's nothing really the West is going to do, is it, if Russia decides to sort of keep its troops in Crimea?
Our response is diplomatic and peaceful, and it should be. That is our response. But it will be a very united diplomatic response, not just from the Western world, I think, but from many other countries in the world. And that is something that Russia will have to think hard about.
And will you also be urging the Kiev government not to make any military action against Russian troops?
As I mentioned a moment ago, they said the acting president Turchinov said to me on Friday night by telephone that the Ukrainians would not rise to provocations, and I said that was a very wise policy. We'll discuss that with them again, I'm sure, on this visit, given the escalation of tensions. But it very much remains our view that they should not rise to provocations, they should not feed the tensions, and so we call on both sides to ensure that there can be a reduction in tensions and the avoidance of conflict.